Right. Thank you so much and welcome to our Lunch and Learn dedicated to the cause of environmental protection. My name is Leah DeHoot. I'm the Associate Director for Western Pennsylvania and West Virginia CFC Zone 29. I am joined by Susie Gomez. She's will be navigating the chat. So if you have any questions or any issues related to tech and citing anything related to tech, please let Susie know. She will be helping out today. So thank you, and let's begin. So please, before we get too much further, please sign in using the chat feature, using your first and last name, agency, and city, so we know who's in our audience. Certainly, again, appreciate you making the time in this busy season. There we go. So the Combined Federal Campaign is the official workplace giving campaign for federal employees and retirees. And it's one of the largest and most successful workplace fundraising campaigns in the world. CFC has become a tradition each fall. And over the past 60 years, we have raised more than $8.5 billion for causes like the one we are supporting this week, environmental protection. Now, before we go further, I did want to take a moment and pause and recognize the devastating loss and destruction that's occurred throughout central and southern states due to the outbreak of tornadoes this weekend. Certainly our thoughts and prayers are with those impacted. And then once again, last night we had destructive weather and high winds hit the central US, causing another death. Thank you. So we are interconnected. It may seem like a huge planet, but for the 7.8 billion human inhabitants, the Earth is our home. And we all share this home with the same finite resources. Now, due to human activity, we are accelerating the change of our planet, putting our only home at risk. The good news is we can all take steps to repair this damage. And I'm so excited to welcome our charities today that have taken the time to share their mission and answer questions and provide us more information on what we can do. So thank you again for taking the time to attend this event. It's because of individuals like you for the past 60 years that make this program what it is, helping those in need around the world. All right, so let's meet the charities. So today I'm happy to introduce Heather Klein-Olson and Molly Gray of the American Hiking Society. We have Jimmy Tai of Build a School Foundation. There you go. Hi, Jimmy. Lauren Rutledge of Global Impact. We have Dr. Brent Bailey of the West Virginia Land Trust. And if you could all introduce yourself and the organization you are all representing and take a few minutes to talk about your charity. So let's start with Heather and Molly.
Hi, good morning. I'm Heather Klein-Olson. I'm Senior Director of Development with American Hiking Society. I am a bit under the weather today, so I'm going to let Molly do most of the talking this afternoon and give our intro. So I'll pass it to Molly.
Thanks, Heather. For 45 years, American Hiking Society has mobilized over 500,000 volunteers and maintained over 45,000 miles of trail in public land across the United States. We operate multiple programs, including volunteer vacations. Throughout the year, we send 40 groups of 10 volunteers to work on special trail enhancement projects in national parks, state parks, and public land in collaboration with federal partners like the National Park Service and Bureau of Land Management. We're also an advocacy organization that supports legislation like the Outdoors for All and Transit to Trail Acts, which speaks to the importance of equity inclusion. We are a program-based organization with a strong belief in our mission of empowering all to enjoy, share, and preserve the hiking experience. And we are incredibly grateful to be part of the CFC that can help amplify our mission.
Thank you so much. Next, let's hear from Jimmy.
All right. Thanks, Leanne. This is Jimmy Tai. I'm with the Bill School Foundation. And from my hat here, can anybody guess what country I'm from? Oh, I need to take all of you back to Vietnam. I am what we call as a boat people, a refugee. After the Vietnam War, I got an opportunity to came to America after 15 escape attempts from the Vietnamese communists. Went to prison twice. I witnessed the state police shot and killed my brother. So when I got to this country, I really see it's a second chance. And I devote the rest of my life pretty much to education. And today, my day job, I'm a vice president of Fortune 500 company. So that just that background just tell you why I think education is a game changer. And really, when we after we achieved the American dream, my wife and I thought that how can we give back? And we founded this foundation here. So our goal, we try to build 100 schools globally by 2025. So in the last 6 years, we built 90 school bridges and all educational projects around the world in Vietnam, Philippines, Cambodia, Kenya, and also we give out scholarship here in the United States. 100% of our volunteers spend money, our own money, to work and to travel, to do everything with all the mission that we travel around the world. 200% ROI, that's our return on investment, because all the projects that we invested in, we expect the local to match 100%. The reason we did that, because when I went to Harvard for 3 months to learn how to run the nonprofit organization, if you give people 100%, they will not keep up. But if you make them put their own money or labor or effort in, then they will maintain that, infrastructure that we build, we give them. So that really is our philosophy. Give people a fishing rod rather than give them a fish. And we do believe education is a game changer. And I will have the opportunity to share with you a very quick video here. It's about a minute about the eco-brick school, meaning we ask children in this country use plastic bottle to build school. And this is a quick video that you can see how we do that. So we'll share screen. I'm going to share my sound. I have the videos here, and it's pretty short. This is the first eco-brick school that we built in Vietnam, and you need 8,000 bottles. And when I say bottle, I mean the thing that we use in it all. All right, and that pretty much a quick video. I just want to show all of you that all of these things are possible. And with that, I would like to return the control back to Leanne. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. All right, next, let's hear from Dr. Bailey from the West Virginia Land Trust.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be here. I'm Executive Director of the West Virginia Land Trust. We're a statewide conservation organization And we work primarily, as land trusts do nationwide, to protect land. We've emphasized acquiring land that can serve some sort of public benefit. And whether that is land that will protect water upstream of a drinking water intake for a community, or land that can provide recreational space for hiking or mountain biking trails or a boat launch into a river, or whether that's land that protects habitat and endangered species. We look to create conservation with a purpose. And our staff of 8 works all over the state, and we've had great success in the last few years to the extent that now we have 20 properties that we hope to develop for recreational purposes that are really suitable for access by the public. I think that one of the other things that we emphasize a good bit here is that West Virginia is a small state. It's a poor state. We don't have a lot of philanthropy here, but what we find is that when we run some sort of a campaign, especially to protect a certain site that many people know, contributions come in from all over the country. And whether it's for whitewater kayakers or whether it's for hiking in the highlands in Tucker County in the Yellow Creek Natural Area, we find that West Virginia is a recreation mecca for many people in the surrounding area and really throughout the United States. I should mention too, while Molly and Heather are on the phone, that we hosted a volunteer crew from the American Hiking Society 2 years ago. And I had hoped to be able to figure out the background photo to show you our Elizabeth's Woods Nature Preserve that they worked on outside of Morgantown, West Virginia, where they did a beautiful job, and we were really grateful to have that volunteer crew. So props to you for what you create for nonprofit organizations like ours. It was a really great partnership, and we really appreciate it. We do work with volunteers like American Hiking Society. We work with youth groups, scout groups, church groups, university groups. We feel like we are trying to create pathways to conservation because more and more we need more people who are working in environmental protection. Perhaps one of the most important things for protecting land is that that's the base from which so many other things spring for community benefits. We feel that community development is best anchored in access to the outdoors for public health reasons, mental health and physical health, and also just for having a great place to go and enjoy recreation. So if you've got questions or whatever, I'm really happy to answer over email in the future if you wish to contact me. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you so much. And I certainly enjoy the virtual backgrounds of Molly and Brett. So thank you so much. And let's stay local and hear from Mr. Joe Reed from Phipps Conservatory. Mr. Reed?
Hi there, everybody. Good to see you today. Can I share my screen? I was going to just put a little bit of video in the background as we talk. So I'm with Phipps Conservatory and Botanical Gardens, which is a Victorian glass house which was built in 1893 in the city of Pittsburgh. So we've been running for over 125 years. And increasingly in recent years, we've expanded our scope beyond our seasonal flower shows and plant collections to really try to take on sustainability head on in everything we do. So one of those efforts involves making sure that all of our campus expansions are net zero energy, net zero water, and use their resources efficiently. We have 3 green buildings on our campus now that generate all their own energy and water, and that has come with an effort to change all of our operations to be more green. We compost all of our plant material and all of our cafe waste. We grow produce on site, which is used in our cafe. We have removed soda and junk food from our cafe because we recognize the connection between human and environmental health is important. This year we started to advance an initiative to get other museums, gardens, and groups throughout the country and beyond to follow our lead through a program called the Climate Toolkit, where we've come up with ways that institutions like ours can help to address climate change. And this year, a couple of our staff actually went to COP26 to discuss that on the national stage. But in addition to the work that we're trying to do nationally and globally, we also work locally a lot. We have a program called Homegrown, which is a raised bed vegetable garden program, which works here in the city in underserved neighborhoods to build vegetable gardens right on the properties of homeowners, and gives them tools and resources so that they can grow their own vegetables. And it's created a nice community in the neighborhoods here around growing one's own food. We also have a program called Let's Move Pittsburgh, which gets out into the community and works with physicians, libraries, educators, and other providers to make sure that families have access to resources around eating healthy, exercising, and making sure that everybody stays fit and well. We offer a number of different academic opportunities. We have a high school internship every summer, which allows young high school students to learn about green careers. We have a research initiative where we dispatch graduate students around the world to research the use of plants, what they call ethnobotany, the use of plants by different cultures, to sort of work to find the uses of indigenous knowledge and how that can help us to repair our relationship. But yeah, that's a basic overview of what we do. And then in addition, if you've heard of us, you've probably heard about our annual spring, summer, fall, and winter flower show displays, which are very popular. But yeah, we use beauty as a way to connect people to nature and remind them that nature is something that is worth protecting and reconciling your relationship with. And we're appreciative of the support of CFC donors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. And I love hearing about the comprehensive approach that the Phipps takes. I mean, you're really going from all different areas, and that's amazing. All right, so we will go into from local to global, and hear from Lauren in Global Impact. So Lauren.
Great, thank you, Leah. And I'm just going to share my screen. I put together a brief PowerPoint to kind of go along as I talk. Screen, but yes, I am from Global Impact. We are actually one of the federations that participate in the CFC. So I just want to kick things off today first by saying thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this incredible group of organizations today to share a little bit about our work in the environmental protection space. So as I mentioned, we are a federation, which means we represent a number of organizations that are participating in the CFC. We have nearly 80 charity members that participate in the Combined Federal Campaign. And all of our partners are working to address humanitarian needs, both here in the US and around the world. And they do this by working in really impactful cause areas such as economic development, women and girls, social justice, and of course, environmental protection and climate resiliency, which we'll be focusing on today. So many of our partners work in this space, whether it's through things like responsible resource management and promoting sustainable agriculture, research in biodiversity and wildlife preservation, or sustainable and inclusive poverty reduction programs that address the threats that are posed by climate change. So here's just a quick snapshot of some of the partners that we represent who are working in this space. For some examples, Mercy Corps, Action Against Hunger, and Seed Programs International are just to name a few. And our charity members that have education and resources that are helping communities be able to engage strategically with the environment and to conserve resources and protect our planet. So that was just kind of a quick overview of what our charity members are doing. I'll speak more to it during the panel, but before I close out, I just wanted to give you some examples of the impact that you can make in this space by supporting organizations through the Combined Federal Campaign. So for only $20, you can equip a farmer with 10 packets of seeds that are specifically cultivated to thrive in difficult growing conditions. For just $30, you'll train a family in gardening techniques to grow nutritious vegetables, even during times of drought. For $50, you'll be able to train 20 farmers to grow stronger, more nutritious crops in 1 year. And for $75, this would provide a family with a solar power light kit, which includes 3 lamps and a solar cell panel for recharging. And if you would like to learn more about our charity members and the work that they are doing in environmental protection and climate resiliency, We have some really great tools to help support your exploration of our federation on our website, charity.org/give. I look forward to speaking with you all a little bit more about our members and what they're doing during the panel, but I do just want to take this time to say thank you so much for sharing your time with me and the other wonderful organizations who are speaking today, and to learn more about the work that's being done in this field. So thank you.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you to all the charities. I've learned so much already. Now, for any of the attendees, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will get to them at the end if there's time. Thank you for being very respectful of our time, to all the panelists. Well, let's get started. So, the first question we have is, if there was one thing you wanted the community to know about environmental protection, what would it be? You'll have up to 2 minutes to address. And let's start at the top with Molly.
I'm going to go ahead and let Heather answer this question.
Okay.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I can take this one. Yes. So you don't have to be a political expert, we say at AHS, to participate in our advocacy efforts. You can follow nonprofit organizations on social media and respond to their calls of action. Those are always important. It can be as simple as digitally signing a pre-written petition that goes to your congressional representative. And so everyone has a role to play, and the majority of trail conservation work is really done by volunteers and by nonprofit organizations like the ones here today. With the outdoors seeing record use during the pandemic, really support for this work is so important now more than ever to ensure that your favorite trail or your place to go outside remains open and accessible.
Jimmy, I just want to mention, I really like the picture of the eco bricks school in your background. What would you say is one thing you'd like the community to know?
That's for me, right, Leanne?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, I really appreciate that question, because I do believe that every single thing all of us can do can make a difference to protect this environment, to this world. And that have to be the big thing. You look at the Eco Brick School in my background, that's the first Eco Brick ever built in Vietnam with 8,000 bottles. And these are the bottles that I'm talking about, right? So these are the things that we throw away, billion of them in the ocean, in the landfill every day, and then every year. And then if all of us, and in my kitchen, we make everybody just every single piece of plastic, we put in these empty bottle, and then we fill it up. And then I'm going to put, I make land planters around my garden and everything. So these are little things that we all can do. It doesn't have to be big. And then, but within time, and you can see the Eco Brick behind me, and we're ready to build the second one. So that's another 8,000 to 10,000 bottles. What does that equate into plastic that we avoid that go to landfill? That equates to 2 tons of plastic that are going to be on Earth for 400 to 500 years. So those are the major impact that all of us can do. And I love what Molly and Heather talk about, because we just did the 5 Peak in San Diego, 16 miles. We did it on Sunday for 10 hours. And every time we get up in the peak of the mountain, we enjoy so much. I look around, and what I appreciate is that we keep the trail so clean, because we have that discipline. But when I travel all over the world, I hike all the mountains around the world. Trash and plastic is everywhere. So education is very simple. That's the first thing we have to tell people, do your part and just make this Eco Brick bottle, and if nothing else, put around your plant, your tree in your backyard, make beautiful planter, become a conversation when everybody come to do meditate in our backyard. We mentioned it, and everybody go home and do it. So it's all start with us to protect our world. That's my message to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Those are really easy things we can do. Reuse a plastic bottle, put it in the recycling, pick up trash. So thank you. Dr. Bailey.
It really should be Brent, Leah. I appreciate it, but but Brent is fine with
Brent.
me.
Okay, thank you, Brent.
I guess that the main thing that one of our mantras, we have a few mantras and taglines that we use within the West Virginia Land Trust. And one of them is that if you conserve land, you protect water. And this is a really basic concept that I wish many people understood, which is that if you protect forest land, especially forest land that is beside rivers and streams, you're going to protect your drinking water. Now, the drinking water that is consumed in Pittsburgh or in Washington, D.C. or in Cincinnati was born in the mountains of West Virginia. And we learned in 2014 when there was a chemical spill outside of Charleston, West Virginia, our capital, from chemical storage tanks that were located right beside the river, the Elk River, which flows into Charleston, our capital. 300,000 people were without drinking water for 3 weeks. If there were restrictions on the way that land can be used, such that forest land was beside rivers and streams, that never would have happened. And yet we have often found that industrial zones are sited, located right beside rivers and streams. And I think the risk for public health through all of these mistakes of the past are things that we really should be looking to turn around. So by protecting land, you protect the water. By protecting forests, you also have a stake in climate change, because forests store carbon in the wood that grows and also in the soils. And forest conservation is a really significant piece of the puzzle that we need to put into effect for mitigating the effects of climate change. And the last thing is that I think that many people feel like, oh, well, I'd like to donate to an organization, but what I can donate isn't going to make that big a difference. And in fact, with some of the deals that we make when we acquire land, when we purchase land, we've got, lands that might cost $500,000 or $600,000 or up to $1 million. But what's really key, especially if we're accessing federal funds that come from the Fish and Wildlife Service or the National Park Service or the U.S. Forest Service, is every one of those grant opportunities for a nonprofit organization requires a match. This is much like what Jimmy was talking about when they require a match for people that they make a grant to. Federal agencies do it the same way with nonprofit organizations. And if we can't raise that match from our donors, from other non-federal sources, we can't access those federal funds. So I think that donors should really consider the benefits of the leveraging power that their contributions to nonprofits have in order to multiply many times over the amount of grant funding that they can access from government sources.
That was wonderful. And, also please note for attendees, donations make a difference, and also volunteer hours. You're able to pledge volunteer hours. Just go to givecfc.org. All right. And Joe, let's stay local here at Phipps. What would be one thing you'd want the community to know about environmental protection?
I'm going to echo Brent a little bit, because he's absolutely right that when he mentions that a small thing can make a big difference. I think when people look at a subject like climate change, they think, oh man, this is too massive. There's nothing I can do about it. And so a lot of our role here at Phipps is convincing people that that's not in fact the case. That number one, it not only can a person make a difference, but it's everyone's responsibility to, because it's going to take all of us to address this issue. And with that in mind, we've put a couple of things into place. One of the small but really exciting things that Phipps has done in the past few years to get everybody at a starting point, at least, is a program called Make the Switch at Phipps. And what we've done is we've partnered with a green energy provider who have a staff member on our site all the time. And so as visitors make their way through the conservatory, they'll see this person. And what this person offers them is a free year of Phipps membership in return for switching to green power right there on the spot. And so we're putting one of our biggest capital investments, the membership on the table and saying, we're going to give this away for free. This is how important this is to us. And we've converted thousands of people now to green power as a result, which has been awesome. And they've got the membership, so they come back and they engage with us further. But in aid of that, we have found ourselves doing some other additional things, which I'm going to put links to in the chat. We ended up doing an exhibit called Planets Earth, which is a permanent exhibit on site, which has an online component as well. And it's based on the notion that, you know, if we were all to use, if everyone in the world were to use the resources we use right now in the United States, it would take 6 planets worth of resources to do that. And that's obviously not possible. And since a lot of other countries are aspiring to be like the US in terms of the largesse, we really need to set the pace for the rest of the world, and we need to be smarter about the resources we use. So that exhibit is all about that. And also we added to that a simple tool called Easy Steps with Big Impact for Climate Change, which is just a list of 10 steps that we recommend people take. They're all selected by our staff, and our staff have testimony about using them in their own lives to get people started on the road to you know, changing the way they think and changing the way they see and relate to the world.
Thank you so much. And I will make sure to include all of these when we upload this video to our YouTube and social media platforms. So thank you for highlighting those programs. Lauren.
Hi, yeah, thanks. I think this has been kind of touched on by other people, just to stress that, you know, environmentalism, it's such an intersectional topic. And so when you're really supporting climate resiliency and environmental protection, your generosity and support is having extended reach to other important cause areas. And good environmental health, it's key to being able to combat global inequities. The most vulnerable people in the world they're disproportionately exposed to extreme weather events. They're more reliant on natural resources, and they're the least able to cope with and adapt to negative environmental impacts. And when they're faced with an environmental emergency, you know, even more complex crises end up arising for them. So that's why so many of our charity partners include climate resiliency as a part of their work, because the more that we're doing towards building a future of more sustainability and conservation, the more that we're able to successfully support these communities in their other needs. And so I think that's just really important to keep in mind that when we protect our world, we're protecting the people as part of our world as well.
Thank you, Lauren. And I might follow up with you on the next question, because our next question is, you know, beyond financial donations and volunteering, which again, just go to givecfc.org to look at your profile and make those pledges. What are some specific ways CFC donors can make a difference, you know, perhaps with, you know, steps in the climate resiliency that you mentioned, or other things that support environmental protection?
Sure, and I think, you know, we're at Global Impact, we're bringing kind of a bit of a different perspective, bringing it more towards the effects this has on populations around the world. So I think I'm going to take a bit of a different approach than the kind of main things that you can be doing in your day-to-day lives, actions you be taking. But I just want to say how important it is to just stay educated on the topic. And, you know, knowing that, you know, the causes and the effects and the needs that are arising due to climate change and environmental emergencies. So I know many of our member charities, I'm sure all of the organizations that are presenting here today have really great resources to help educate you further on this subject. So I think one of the best things that you can do is to just be continuously learning on this subject. And I would encourage people to follow a few of their favorite organizations that are working this field on social media, or register to receive their, to be on their mailing list, so that you can stay up to date on what's going on in this field and what some of your favorite organizations are doing in the cause area.
Thank you, Lauren. Yes, education was a cause, you know, selected as a topic for a cause of the week, but with the intersectionalities of our world, education really is relevant for all of these causes. So thank you for bringing that up. Again, let's go to the top with Molly. What are some ways beyond just giving money in your time?
Yeah, well, I just want to echo what Lauren just said. Becoming educated is really kind of the overarching theme here. Becoming engaged with your state, local, and federal elected officials so that they know that environmental protection is important to their constituents. Writing them a letter, giving them a call, and attending a town hall, that's a really important facet. Something you can do at the very hyper-local level is when you're going on a walk or a hike, grab a trash bag with you and clean up the trail while you're enjoying the outdoors. Again, as Lauren said, subscribing to newsletters. We have our eco-friendly newsletter. It's a digital version of our monthly news called Paperless Trail. And follow our social channels on Facebook and Instagram to stay informed when Congress and federal land managers are considering policy and legislation that affects trails and public land. And then another thing that folks can do is, each year we select 5 next-gen trail leaders who are outdoor enthusiasts from diverse backgrounds, and they're aged from 18 to 40 years old. And they apply, and when they're accepted, they receive a financial stipend for professional development. And that can range through development courses, leadership courses. They can buy gear or trips. And we just had one woman that took a drone certification course to create nature websites and write about protecting natural resources and why that's such a precious thing we need to do. And our next gen trail leaders learn about advocacy efforts and have an opportunity to participate in our volunteer vacations. So what anyone can do is help us promote this next gen trail leader program. So we have these calls for applicants for many of our programs, and a way that people can help us is just get the word out and just hit share on social or forward an email. It can be just a really simple act that can leave a lasting impact.
That sounds like so much fun, Molly. I will definitely keep my eye out for that and share with my younger siblings and family members and friends. That's amazing. Brent, what do you think? What comes to mind as other ways besides financial donations and time, which are also important?
Yeah, I think that I guess that for everybody and for ourselves, the first thing is to get outside. The more that you get outside, the better you feel about the natural environment, and the more protective you will become about it. And that protection that Molly references in terms of, and Lauren too, in terms of speaking up with your elected officials, is critically important. And yet it's sort of the baseline for good citizenship. You should be attending local county commission meetings or city council meetings, or writing to your elected officials over email just to say, what are you doing to support clean water? What are you doing about climate change? What are you doing to make sure that recreational opportunities are available to communities that need them? And I think that sort of low-level activism can be very effective. It can also make you engaged. We've seen, as Lauren mentioned at the start of the call, the incredibly devastating impacts of tornadoes, of high winds, of wildfires, of flooding. Climate change is here, and our moment of silence should be followed by a moment of noise. I think that we should be looking at how do we bring more people in. You don't have to be an environmentalist in order to have an environmental protection point of view. This year, I'm giving away books, copies of a book called Speed and Scale, which is looking at climate change and ways that we can accelerate and expand in speed and scale our responses to climate change. And it's a book that's just out, but I'm giving it away to a whole lot of people who are not environmentalists, because environmental protection is not going to be solved simply by environmentalists. It needs to be resolved by citizens and moms and grandparents and teenage activists. And the more people that become part of this army that protects us all, this doesn't have to be blue or red, but the more people that are engaged in saying, I want my planet to be a healthy place, the better off we're all going to be.
Much. Jimmy, would you like to speak to the question of what are some specific ways donors can make a difference and support environmental protection?
Sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Again, to me, beside the financial contribution that you generously give it to CFC, be mindful of your consumption, right? Be very mindful of your consumption. Just think about the consequences of it. Right? Look at plastic bottle, and I saw Joe use, his bottle just like me. Even when I go on hiking, I have this. When I go to work, I have this. When I go even to party, I carry this and say, sorry guys, I'm just consume water today. I'm not going to drink alcohol, beer, or whatnot, because then I have more bottle, I have more aluminum, I have more waste going to the landfill. So be very mindful of what you do, and take a step further. Not only with little things like eco brick that I make every kid around the world build, and we trade in. They say, hey, you know what? You bring the eco brick, and they say a pound worth of plastic that we say we give you a candy, and we give you a Snicker bar. And trust me, I might save the world and ruin their teeth, but that's something that their parents can take care of that. So those are the things that we certainly can do. But for us in the modern world, think more about your solar panel. Think about the Tesla that you might want to go buy. Because in 20, 30 years, where do you think those solar panels are going to go? Where do you think all this battery going to go? They go into the landfill, right? No way that they can recycle. In my day job, I look at all this. I have to look out for 20, 30 years to advise my company where to go with these future, crises that people need to solve. So just think about the plastic issue that we face today with all the climate change that we face today. Think about more of all the solar panel or all of the battery that in 20, 30 years that they have to go be wasted, go into the landfill, be recycled, or do something. So if you're in that business, think about that whole holistic, how do you take care of that environmental 20, 30 years down the road? Don't just think about, hey, I'm doing this today, so I do good enough. Not good enough. You got to think 20, 30 years down the road. So again, be mindful of our consumption in every single thing. That would be my message. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Joe, would you like to speak on this?
There's been so many good ideas covered already. I'm almost not sure what else to say, except that like others have said, like I think being an advocate in your day-to-day life and having the conversations with people is so important. I mean, people can hear this sort of thing from someone like me, who's with an institution that's affiliated with the environment and whose job it is to communicate. That's one thing. But to hear that these are the priorities of your neighbors and friends and family members is what's really going to pull people forward into, oh boy, I really need to actually give this some serious thought. I'm in marketing and we call that word of mouth, and it's the best promotion you can get, because it feels the most genuine to people. So I guess I would advocate for people trying to be that person in your day-to-day life and start those kinds of conversations. And one way to do it is to know your local climate story. For example, I mean, we talked about Kentucky, of course. Here in Pittsburgh, how are we experiencing climate change? Because everybody's experiencing it in different ways. Our primary ways are flooding and landslides, for example. And so it's important to people to know that that's part of their local story, and that when those things happen, they're not happening in a vacuum. They're happening as a symptom of the overall climate change problem. So yeah, I mean, I think it's important to know how these things affect people locally, because a person who won't have a conversation about climate change with you may have a conversation about, for example, landslides, infrastructure collapse, may even just have a conversation about something like loss of biodiversity. A person who goes fishing, for example, and is not catching as many fish as they were before, and doesn't know that too is connected to the change we're experiencing in the environment. There are a lot of ways to have this conversation, and I think it's about finding the ways to have the ones that touch people. So yeah, I mean, I would advocate to keep talking.
Excellent. Thank you. I've learned so much. I know our attendees have, and I've just been kind of glancing at the chat. We have a lot of great links that, again, I'll be including when I share this session. Lots of thank yous about all of the great and work and the creative approaches, because I know it takes innovation to handle this. And thank you from Amber of the Pittsburgh Federal Executive Board. So I don't see any questions though, but I do want to pause for a minute. If any attendees have any questions, please feel free to take yourself off mute and ask. Oh, and I did get a direct question. So let a couple of you answer this before final thoughts, but is there a project your organization does that you're excited about? And I know we've touched on a few, but any projects that haven't been mentioned that you'd like to share with us? Whoever jumps in first.
I can take a crack. One of the things that we do is we operate in a fairly reactive mode. We don't have a master plan for protecting land all around the state, because what we're looking for long-term are the partners that can help us to manage land over the long haul. And what we're doing now here is to reference the fishing that Joe mentioned. We're connecting with Trout Unlimited chapters in West Virginia to say, where are those most important fishing spots for native brook trout that you would like to see protected? I mean, native brook trout and fishermen are so aligned with the water quality goals that we have at the Land Trust. And we're looking at, what are those participant groups and partners that have an affinity for a particular kind of the landscape that will get behind this kind of movement and help us to raise funds, acquire the land, use it in the future, and manage it carefully. With a staff of just 8, and right now close to 20,000 acres that have been protected, we don't do it all alone. We do it with volunteers and with partners. And so I'm really excited about the idea that we can move forward with some of these fishing groups in order to identify key places that are important to them that'll benefit everyone at the same time.
And I can jump in as well. I'm an American Hiking Society. We're a staff of 8 as well. And as Bren was touching on, we have volunteer vacations, and we coordinate about 40 to 50 of those for 10 individuals per vacation. So we have about 500 individuals working in public land, state parks, local parks across the country for a week at a time. And we're excited. We're going to be kicking off our alternative break program for the first time in 2 years. It's similar to our volunteer vacations, but it's for college students. So it's a college version of volunteer vacations, and those have been postponed for 2 years because of the pandemic, but we'll be kicking those off again in February this year. So we're excited about that.
Excellent. All right. And Jimmy.
Yes, we're pretty excited to announce that we're ready to sign a 5-year scholarship contract with a local Cal State university here. And what we're shooting for, we're going to award this scholarship to people that pay a lot of attention to the community, to the environment. And we make it specific. How can you use the grant money that we give you not only to pay for your tuition, but make a difference in your environment, in your community? And we're excited about that. Thanks.
Exciting. Yes. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Well, I think unless there's any other questions from the chat, I don't see. It is that time to have closing remarks. So if everyone could, take a couple minutes, give your final thoughts. We have gone through so many wonderful projects and ideas of ways that, just little steps and ways we can use these approaches in our daily life to make an impact. So I'm really excited. I know our attendees are as well. But yes, please, we'll start from the top of the order. So let's go to Molly and Heather, if you'd like to say some final thoughts.
Yes, thank you, Leah. So really, the pandemic has shown us all the importance of being outside and having access to outdoors and nature. We know last year in 2020, there was a record number of people who were enjoying the outdoors, and there's just a renewed focus across the country to expand access to trails, parks, and green spaces in all of our communities. And I like to say that as a fundraiser, money is a renewable resource, but our environment and land is not. So please take good care of it and support the organizations here on this call, because they're really doing a lot of work with very few resources, and expanding those resources as much as possible, and the capacity of the staff to serve and help the environment and keep the spaces that you love to enjoy beautiful and clean. So thank you for having us today.
Jerry.
Yes. I think I look at the future very optimistically because the children in this country and around the world is great. So if all of us adults can be a role model for the children, whether you want to conserve land, hike and trail or whatnot, just be a good role model for your children. They will look up to us and they will do the right thing and we will all be okay. Thank you.
Thank you for that optimistic message, Jimmy. Brett?
Yeah, thanks, Leah. Shortly after the first of the year, the Land Trust will post on its website a hiking series that we're sponsoring this year to a variety of the lands that we've protected. So Molly and Heather, you send those people right over to West Virginia so that they can enjoy those places. What we find is a lot of people want to get outside, but I have a friend who says, "Oh, Brent, I just love nature. I just never go there." And I think that there's sometimes just a barrier you have to actually getting your feet on the ground and starting off on a trail, or maybe somebody doesn't want to hike alone or something like that. And we're trying to facilitate easy connections for everyone and trying to cultivate groups that often have not participated in environmental protection or in enjoying the outdoors as a recreational site. I'm optimistic. Maybe this is the silver lining, but I think that there has been such a reckoning in the last few years during COVID in terms of the way that we live, with Black Lives Matter, with the Me Too movement, with a whole range of political issues that are touching everyone and making us tense and making us anxious. But I think that reckoning is a really healthy thing for us to have because it forces us to look at how do we live and where do we live and how do we want to live. And I think there are real opportunities for improvement that everyone can participate in. And by taking stock of where we are and where we want to be and forging a path to get there, I think that we have a lot of opportunity to make the whole world and our lives a better place.
So much. Joe with Phipps.
I just wanted to take a second to say what an honor it was to join everybody here today. It's always heartening to see all the work that others are doing in this field, and just say that that Phipps is here to work together. If there are opportunities for that in the future, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I hope we can keep in touch and continue this conversation. One thing I will mention that we do is we have a monthly meetup called Biophilia Pittsburgh. You can see that on our website. It's remote right now. It used to be in person, but it's still remote at the moment. It's free. It's a conversation. We have a guest speaker each month who talks about a topic of environmental importance. Would love to have you there. But yeah, hopefully we can continue this conversation in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, Lauren.
Yeah, I think either Joe or Brent was one of you earlier who had made the comment that it can oftentimes when talking about climate change or environmentalism, it can just seem so overwhelming and like this just too big to tackle cause area. But I don't know about all of you, but after sitting in on today's session, I'm just feeling so inspired and very optimistic, knowing that there's all these organizations doing incredible work in this space and very passionate people behind these organizations. And so I just hope it helped paint a picture of the impact that you can really make by supporting any of the number of participating charities who are doing work in this field. Whether you're wanting to support your hiking trail in your backyard, or a school in Vietnam, or communities living in vulnerable countries around the world. There's so many ways that you can make a difference in this field. So I just hope it's encouraged you to support one of the participating charities that are in this campaign.
Thank you so much, Lauren. And yes, a very big thank you to all of the charities today, and especially for the attendees who are sharing this time with us today. Again, this recording will be available, but yes, hearts, claps, all of the things. I have learned so much. I've learned of so many different ways that I can engage and continue to become more informed about what I can do and inspire others to get outside and walk and pick up those plastic bottles and trash that I find. So So thank you so much, and wishing everyone on this call a very, very safe and happy holiday season. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks so much.
Thank you,
Thank you all.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.